नमस्कार, मराठा विद्याप्रसारक समाज KTHM College, Department of Environmental Science welcomes you back at the e-lecture series. Today is the third lecture of MSc second year, third semester class and environmental impact assessment and environmental audits. We are conducting the chapter 1, Introduction to EIA. I am Srimati Prachi Inve, and today we are going to discuss about the topics covered. Today we are going to cover uh, reasons of EIA uses, core value of EIA, the guiding principles of EIA, and benefit and false, that is, advantages and limitations of EIA. Before this, we have been studying about the framework of sustainable framework of EIA. We have studied about the definition. We have studied about the history of EIA around the world in India. And now the question arises, that is why we are using EIA. So the use of EIA is very simple. That means first of all, whenever we try to do out something, whenever we try to do something new, at that time there are n number of questions. Why we are doing it, for what we are doing it, for whom we are doing it, who is going to be benefited, why should we do it, how much expenditure it is going to have, etc. So the thing is that whenever we are going with a particular activity, it has some or the other question. And in our case, when we speak about EIA, UNEP defines environmental impact assessment as a tool to use to identify the environmental, social, and economic impact of the project prior to decision making. Okay, why we are doing this is being answered by UNEP. UNEP says that it is a tool to use to identify the environmental, social, economical impact of a project prior to decision making. As the EIA process provides us with various benefits like better environmental planning and decision for a proposal. It ensures compliances with environmental standards, saving in capital and operating cost, reduce time and cost of approval of development appreciation. Friends, it is it is seen all around the world, like whenever we need something. Okay, at the same time, if we get number of options, we try to find out something best option for our activity. So, analyzing the effects of various options can be done or should be done in this particular EIA, that is in assessment procedure. Okay, for better environmental planning and decision of a proposal, ensuring compliance with environmental standard. Now, what are environmental standards? Environmental standards say that, as UNIP have already discussed with us, like in the previous lecture, we have studied about the 17 goal points of UNIP. In that, it says that from an individual till global level, each and every factor is equally important. Let it be biotic, let it be abiotic. That means it gives importance to the physical, chemical, biological, historical, cultural, economical, etc. etc. All the factors around us. So ensuring compliance with the environmental standard, it is expecting each and every factor to be at least at its minimum standard level. On the other hand, saving in capital and operating cost. So saving in capital and operation cost, that means whenever we are conducting a developmental activity, it may take 6 months, it may take years together, it may take decades together. At that time, the time being, the cost of that particular activity may increase according to the time. The necessary of that particular activity may also increase according to the time. That means the demand and the source balance may not be fulfilled properly. Getting it? So to keep both the things according to the time till the particular activity is being conducted, at that time we are expecting a cost, minimum cost, operational minimum cost, reduce time and cost approval of developmental application. That means Whenever a particular activity is being conducted, at the first day until the last day, the last day maybe after a decade, at the first day and the last day, there are n number of various conditions, maybe seasonal condition, maybe social conditions, maybe natural conditions. Okay, now at every stage the cost may vary. So the cost reduce time and cost approval development. That means the time of developmental activity should be minimum. It should be in the service of the public as soon as it can be, must be within a very short time with a very less expenditure, and the most important part is that it should hinder the least to the particular environmental factors around it. After that, the core values of EIA. There are three major core values, that is integrity, utility and sustainability. When we speak about integrity, the EIA procedure should meet all internationally accepted requirements and standard of practices. That means in no region, like there is no reserve region where we can have an optional case that no, this can be considered in our region. People are understanding, people will understand it and it can be conducted. No, this will not happen. It should internationally meet all the standards of the practice, whatever the practice may be. Maybe a building, maybe a construction, maybe engineering for any industry, or mining, or maybe roadways, highways, anything will do. Utilities. Now, what are the utilities? The utilities, the EIA procedure should provide the information which is sufficient and relevant for decision making. Now, utility are basically dealing with the data which we are providing for that particular activity. Now, what data we are going to collect before conducting an EIA? The data which is collecting before conducting a particular EIA, for conducting a particular EIA, is all aspects of the developmental activity, all the effects of the developmental activity on the surrounding region. On the surrounding region, that means the surrounding region may be composition of air environment, water environment. It may be somehow it may be related to some tribal region. Maybe it is related to some hilly region. Maybe it is related to some particular type of endangered species, endemic species, or maybe anything which is totally related in that particular region. So the information, whatever information we are going to provide, the information should be sufficient and relevant. That means you cannot sit at home and Google and answer something according to your perception. No, we should and must go and study the ground position of that particular activity and its effect, which may be in the same decade or maybe after thousands of years. Getting it? This is a very important factor when we think about utility, is a very important factor when we think about a project which after running the project, what will be effect of that project on the surrounding after 10,000 years, maybe after 500 years, maybe after 200 years, or even a very short span of a single decade. Getting it? Why we are thinking of so long spans? Because the activity may have a direct or an indirect or a ultimate effect on the particular surrounding of that region. Okay, it may be related from a very long chain. It may be related ekdam directly. Getting it? It may happen. So we are supposed to evaluate the particular information, sufficient information, and relative information for sustainable decision making. Finally, we have sustainability. The EIA procedure should result in the implementation of environmental safeguards, which are sufficient to mitigate serious adverse effect and avoid irreversible loss of the resource and economic functions. That means wherever it is related, wherever it is not related directly or wherever it may have a ultimate effect on that particular region should not have impact, or it should be environmentally safe. It should have sufficient mitigatory serious adverse effect and avoid irreversible loss of resource and ecosystem functions. Because whatever factors are there, when we are trying to do some type of activity in the nature, activity is for a very small time, it is for a very small span, and the nature itself is the evolution of thousands of years together. We know Earth was a solar nebula. After that, the nebula cooled down, and then organisms came into existence, and then there was a evolution for millions and millions and millions of years. So, the whole long process in the nature and our developmental activity for a few years, for a few hundred years, may be harmful for the natural environment. And at that time, there may be a serious problem in the environment, and the responsibility of that serious problem may not be bearable to us, to the mankind, and hence the loss which is irreversible, irreparable, there is nobody who is going to take the charge of that particular loss. There are eight guiding principles of EIA. The eight guiding principles of EIA govern the entire EIA process. The eight guiding principles are participation, transparency, certainty, accountability, credibility, cost effective, flexibility, and practicality. The participation of the particular interested parties should be maximum, because this is in the favor of the activity, developmental activity is in the favor of that particular population. Now, whoever maybe it is. Transparency, accessibility, assessment, and decision. That means whenever we are trying to understand the developmental activity, there should be no information hidden from the particular uh, person who is expecting the information of that particular project. For example, if we are having a dam in our region, at that time, who is responsible for the dam? Who will make the dam? What is the makeup of the dam? How it is useful? To whom it is useful? How it may be harmful, to whom it may be harmful, and how to overcome the maximum harm due to the dam. These are the various questions, like these are the very few questions which may be thought of. Now, giving the information of all these particular questions should be very much transparent. Certainty, process, time, and agreement in advance. That means certainty, like after 30 years, what may happen? After 100 years, what may happen? Is the utility going to serve the society for a longer time, or it is going to hinder the natural factors present in that particular region? This should be certainly studied about the project. After that, accountability. The decision makers are very much responsible for their actions and decisions. So the decision makers should have very strong decision power, because this decision power is going to decide the future of the next generations. So after that, the credibility, undertaking with professionalism and objectivity. There should be no personal aim in that particular project, so that maybe like for a few decades you may have a particular economic benefit, but after that there will be a social loss. So it should never happen. On the other hand, cost effectiveness, environmental protection at the least cost to society. The protection to the environment is very much important, because this environment is going to give the society, the environment is going to bear the cost of the social development. So the cost effectiveness is very much important. That means there should be least economic loss, there should be least whatever we are going to expense, it should be least. On the other hand, flexibility. Flexibility, adaptation to deal efficiently with any proposal and decision situation. That means adaptation of the deal to efficient with any proposal and decision situation means that flexibility. For example, after 5 years, the utility may be increased. Like after when we are constructing a dam, at that time, after 5 years, the dam importance may increase, and the importance according to the need of that particular dam, at that time, this may happen that particular water conserved in that dam may be less after 15 years, like because the user group has increased, the users have increased. At that time we will have to increase the depth of the dam, or we will have to increase the backwater region of the dam. But after constructing the whole dam it may not be possible. So in a particular stage it should be flexible to increase or decrease the capacity of the dam. Okay, so the plans should be very much flexible, and it should be accessible, and it should be in the favor of the society and the nature. On the other hand, the practicality. That means information outputs readily usable in decision making and planning. That means whatever we are going to do, whatever is going to happen, should be that practical that it should be 100% from papers on grounds it should be seen. Many times it happens that when we are speaking about environmental impact assessment, the files are actually done in a very superior, noble way. But when we actually see the particular project on land, on ground condition, it may not be the same. It may vary. So the variation should not be there. Now, the advantages of EIA. EIA is a mechanism which helps in planning the efficient use of human and natural resources, that is, mass and material, which have provided valuable to both those prompting development and those responsible for their activities. It may reduce cost and time taken to reach decision by ensuring the subjective and duplication of effects of and minimize. It identifies the primary and secondary consequences which might necessitate the introduction of expensive pollution control measures. The incorporation of EIA into decision making create a number of benefits. If a forecast of likely impact is available, allowances can be made to minimize the negative impact. That means there should be a flexibility, and the flexibility over here is seen. EIA can identify those areas most susceptible to adverse impact and so guide site selection. EIA can aid the most suitable site in terms of benefit maximization and reduction of harmful effects. The results of EIA studies of a selection site aid the determination of broad environmental, social, or health criticals to be used when a large number of sites are screened for their suitability. Now let's have a glance at limitations of EIA. Implementation of EIA face number of problems due to poor availability of reliable data, insufficient training, education in EIA methodologies, and in the establishment of appropriate legal regulatory framework and institutional arrangement. Negligence of beneficial impact in EIA report, lack of consideration of alternative sites, technologies, decision making, decision strategies, insufficient involvement and practical participation of the public, like all the interested and affected parties, insufficient emphasis on required cost effectiveness of EIA, lack of follow up, monitoring, and evaluation, improper recommendation, mitigation, and adaptation measures which are not affordable or feasible in terms of maintenance. Poor presentation of EIA result. Now, all these are limitations. Like most of the times, we do not consider these very important, but these are the factors which are responsible for failures in EIA studies. So in today's lecture, we have been studied about the principles, we have studied about the core of EIA, and we have also studied about the benefits and the disadvantages. And now we are going to study about the assignment. Now, what is the assignment I'm going to give is about write a short note on advantages and limitations in EIA. What are the principles of EIA and explain the importance of core values in the EIA process. Study well, study thoroughly, and stay home, stay safe. Goodbye.